Yeah, let's go with the TLDR here. TLDR, but it's going to be quite long still. Confucianism is often characterized as a system of social and ethical philosophy rather than a religion. In fact, Confucianism built on an ancient religious foundation to establish the social values, institutions, and transcendent ideals of traditional Chinese society. It was what sociologist Robert Balla called a civil religion, the sense of religious identity and common moral understanding at the foundation of faith society's central institutions. It is also what a Chinese sociologist called a diffuse religion. Its institutions were not a separate church, but those of society, family, school, and state. Its priests were not separate liturgical specialists, but parents, teachers, and officials. Confucianism was part of the Chinese social fabric and the way of life. The Confucians' everyday life was the arena of religion, which is obviously something we've read already, and we can all agree. And yes, as always, it can be used for evil. Like everything in this world. What can we do about it? Not just for evil. And understand when something like this would be dangerous. The founder of Confucianism, Master Kong, that is a name, also known as Confucius, did not intend to found a new religion, but to interpret and provide the unnamed religion of the Zhou dynasty, under which many people thought the ancient system of religious rule was bankrupt. Welcome the gods from the social upheavals. The burning issue of the day was, it is not the ancestral native spirits, what then is the basis of a stable and defiant endurance social order? The dominant view of the day, espoused by realists and legalists, was that strict law and the statecraft were the basis of sound policy. Confucius, however, believed that the basis lay in soul religion, in its rituals. He interpreted that he interpreted these not as sacrifices asking for the blessing of the gods, but as ceremonies performed by human agents and embodying the civilized and cultural patterns of behavior developed through generations of human wisdom. Mm, yeah, this is a long as fucking time ago, so yeah, they would do ritual sacrifices, but then again, it's not that different from today. There's a silver lining here, right? Oftentimes, even if we are not religious, we still celebrate Christmas or Easter because, at the very least in the West, it has been ingrained in culture. I think that is good. I think that's the way to go. We don't need to take the religion out of these rituals, but these rituals can be integrated into culture. They embodied for him the ethical core of Chinese society. Moreover, Confucius applied the term ritual to actions beyond the formal sacrifices and religious ceremonies to include social rituals, courtesies, and accepted standards of behavior, what we today call social mores. I said that before, but it's here again, it is important. He saw the Steinhorn and traditional rituals as the basis of human civilization, and he felt that only a civilized society could have a stable, unified, and enduring social order. Completely agree. Completely agree with that. But then again, we can agree on some points and disagree on others. Thus, one side of Confucianism was the affirmation of accepted values and norms of behavior in primitive social institutions and basic human relationships. All human relationships involve a set of defined roles and mutual obligations. Each participant should understand and conform to his or her proper role. Starting from individual and family, people acting rightly could reform and perfect the society. The blueprint of this process was describing integrated learning, a section of the classic of rituals. Only when we're investigated is knowledge extended. Only when knowledge is extended are thoughts sincere. Only when thoughts are sincere and minds rectified. Only when minds are rectified are the characters of persons cultivated. Only when character is cultivated are our families regulated. Only when families are regulated are states well governed. Only when states are well governed is there peace in the world. Not entirely wrong. Not entirely wrong. It is important. It is important once again to pursuit of truth. Confucius' ethical vision ran against the grain of the legalistic mindset of his day. Only under the Han Emperor Wu did Confucianism become accepted as state ideology and orthodoxy. From that time on, the imperial state promoted Confucian values to maintain law, order, and the status quo. Status quo can be cool, but can also be really dangerous. In late traditional China, emperors sought to establish village lectures on Confucian moral precepts and to give civic awards to filial sons and chaste wives. I understand where they're coming from, though. The imperial family and other notables sponsored the publication of morality books that encouraged the practice of Confucian values, respect for parents, loyalty to government, and keeping to one's place in society. Farmers should remain farmers, and practice the ethics of farming. This side of Confucianism was conservative and served to bolster established institutions and long-standing social divisions. And this here is probably the biggest gripe we have with Confucianism. Farmers should remain farmers and practice the ethics of farming. But why? Why? Farming is important. I said before, I will say it again. Yes, farming is important. Agriculture is absolutely essential for a country to flourish, to work, to not collapse on itself. But then again, shouldn't you, even if you're born, quote unquote born to, be a farmer, if you have the qualities of becoming, in this context, a scholar, shouldn't you strive to become a scholar? Because, for once, it will be more fitting for you, and it will probably become a overall greater good. This here is extremely, I don't want to say it because it has a lot of hubris, but yes, this is classist, and I don't like it. Why? Social freedoms, individual freedoms, I mean. If you cannot, how do I say it? I don't want to be like, oh, classes, but yes, it's what it is. But if you cannot strive and improve and be in a better position than your parents or your ancestors, economically or socially or professionally, that is fucked up. That is fucked up. I don't like it. I have a problem with that. There was, however, another side to Confucianism. Confucianism not only stressed social rituals, but also humaneness. Rather sometimes translated as love or kindness is not any one virtue, but the source of all virtues. The Chinese character literally represents the relationship between two persons. Okay. Or co-humanity, the potential to live together humanly rather than scraping like birds or beasts. Ren keeps ritual forms from becoming a hollow. A ritual performed with Ren has not only form but ethical content. It nurtures the inner character of the person, furthers his or her ethical maturation. Thus, if the other side of Confucianism was conformity and acceptance of social roles, which I can only agree on the surface, the inner side was cultivation of conscience and character. Cultivation involved broad education and reflection on one's actions. It was a lifetime commitment to character building, carving and polishing the stone of one's character until it was a lustrous gem. Master Kong described his own lifetime. We read this, we will read again, doesn't matter. At 15, I set my heart on learning. At 30, I was firmly established. At 40, I had no more doubts. At 50, I knew the will of the heaven. At 60, I was ready to listen to it. At 70, I could follow my heart's desire without transgressing what was right. Holy shit, excuse me, I'm frogging right now. The inner pole of Confucianism was reformist, idealistic, and spiritual. It generated a high ideal for family interaction. members were to treat each other with love, respect, and consideration for the needs of all. Which is fair. Some people will be like, oh, that sounds communist, that sounds communist. Yes, but if you apply that to the family, not only it's fair, I do believe it is virtuous. Not economic or political, but some of the ideals. It required officials to criticize the rulers and refuse to serve the corrupt. If only! Once again. This inner and idealistic wing spawned a Confucian Reformation known in the West as Neo-Confucianism. The movement produced reformers, philanthropists, dedicated teachers and officials. And social philosophers from the 11th to the 19th centuries. Woo! 19th century. This 19th! The idealist wing of Confucianism had a religious character. Its ideas were transcendent, not in the sense that they were otherworldly. The Confucians were not interested in a far-off heavenly realm, but in the sense of the transcendent ideal perfection. And the transcendent ideal perfection. On the one hand, Confucian values are so closely linked with real life that they sometimes seem trivial. Real life is so familiar that we do not take its moral content seriously. And we should. We're each a friend to someone, or a parent, or certainly the child of a parent. On the other hand, Confucians remind us that the familiar ideas of friendship, parenthood, and filiality are far from trivial. In real life, we only rarely attain these ideals. We all often just go through the motions to preoccupy to give our full attention to the relationships. That is so true, man, that is so true even nowadays. If we consistently and wholeheartedly realized our potential to be the very best friend, parent, son, or daughter humanly possible, it would establish a level of caring or moral excellence that would approach the utopian. This is Confucian transcendence, to take the actions of everyday life as the reign of moral and spiritual fulfillment. This is quite literally the way of the human that I was talking about before. And this is necessary. This is necessary. We cannot forego our relationships, especially our close relationships, for things that in the end really don't matter. The other inner aspects of Confucianism, its conforming and reforming sides, were in tension throughout Chinese history. Moreover, the tensions between social and political realities and the high-minded moral ideals of the Confucians were an ongoing source of concern for the leaders of this tradition. The dangers of moral sterility, and hypocrisy were always present. Confucianism, they knew well, served both as a conservative state orthodoxy, yeah, not the best sometimes, depends, but yeah, I argue against it, and a stimulus for reform. Yeah, that is necessary too. Great Confucians, like religious leaders everywhere, sought politically to revive and renew the moral, intellectual, and spiritual vigor of the tradition. Until the 1890s, serious-minded Chinese Confucianism, despite its failures to realize its ideal society, as the source of hope for China and the core of what it meant to be Chinese. Although since the revolution, the public ideology of the People's Republic has abandoned Confucian teachings, one can say that there is a continuity of form. Like Confucianism before, Maoism teaches a commitment to transforming the world by applying the lessons of utopian ideology to the actions and institutions of everyday life. This is not to claim that Mao was a closet Confucian, but emphasize that the Confucian way was virtually synonymous with the Chinese way. And once again, I think we can take away some really interesting things from here. We can have a robust culture and social norms and values without the need of a religion, because even if you want to say that Confucianism is some sort of a religion, as it said up here, right? A civil religion or a diffuse religion, you don't have really a god. So does it qualify? Somehow, somewhat, yeah, you can make the argument, but the most important part here is managing to create a philosophy and ideology that lets people be people, and more, most importantly, I would say, takes the ruling class and tells them, you, you, you have to be virtuous, you have to follow the kingly way, you have to be human, you cannot rule by wealth and power. And I think that is something that we need right now.